Can you tell how online someone is by their outfit? This, alongside microtrends' final boss moves, has me thinking that the general consensus seems to be leaning away and going against microtrends and TikTok fashion influencers. And I really wanted to explore, when did being too online become an insult in the fashion space? When someone says you can tell how online someone is by their outfit, they are referring to microtrends, TikTok cores and aesthetics, and chronically online fashion trends, because there really is a difference between the way people dress online and the way people dress in real life. The typical life cycle of a TikTok microtrend is a very sudden rise, oversaturation of content being made about said trend, and then the fast fashion industry brings that oversaturation from the digital into the physical, leading more people to post about the trend in their new garms. Then people begin to turn against this trend because the only content which is left to be made about it is negative. And just as quickly as the trend rose, it now falls. And this cycle repeats with the next trend, and so on and so forth. Now, I do think it's important to note that I do think too online can sometimes be a stand-in for basic bitch. Sometimes I think we can teeter into mocking women for having shared interests and liking mainstream things. But I think a majority of the TikTok fashion space criticism comes from critiquing the ultra-fast trend cycle and our growing dissatisfaction with our consumption habits. Why is TikTok fashion like this? This toxic cycle is a byproduct of the algorithmification of fashion. Content which audiences engage highly with will be pushed out and prioritized by social media algorithms. And in our current short-form, fast-paced content economy, audiences engage with content which is snappy, easy digestible, and most importantly, new. Hence why TikTok has fastened the trend cycle to a breakneck pace. Because not only is there a frenzied rush to make content about a current trend, but there's also a pressure to predict the next one, meaning we have an oversaturation of trends altogether, and everything begins to sound a little bit absurd. I will never forget Tomato Girl Summer, Coastal Grandma, Eclectic Grandpa aesthetic. And having fun predicting trends and experimenting with your style isn't what makes fashion soulless. What makes fashion soulless is trying to fit our style into an algorithm which only prioritizes the fast and the new. To quote Kayla Marcy for their Substack Hot Garbage, as algorithms prioritize popular and easy digestible content, anything niche, complex, or challenging is often buried, stifling innovation from artists and creators who refuse to fit these parameters. And this is when online stopped being cool. Not only has online now become mainstream, even 15 years ago, using social media was pretty fringe, but also people were posting for the love of the craft. I know algorithms were probably still at work, but exposure was much lower and creators didn't know how to work the algorithm like they do now, which is why it feels like everything and everyone is beginning to look the same. And I'm actually not criticizing influencers here for working the algorithm. My entire job is about working the algorithm. At the end of the day, we're all forced to partake in this capitalist system. But I think it's really important to recognize this toxic cycle in order to improve our consumption habits, develop our personal style, and understand what clothes we actually like, not what the TikTok algorithm likes.